a certain Samaritan. That's how Jesus referred to the man. And of course, if you know anything about the history of the Samaritans, they were not highly thought of among the Jews. And it always intrigues me when Jesus tells stories, because there's always so much more to the story than what would appear. And the reason why he chose a certain Samaritan to be the hero of his story, I'm quite not sure. But I do know this, that Jesus said about this man in his story, he said he was a compassionate man. And he was a man who loved his fellow man because, as I said earlier in the week, he didn't know anything about that man down there in the ditch. All he saw was somebody suffering. And I would think that this same man would have that same reaction to any other part of humanity that he saw suffering. He wanted to make a difference. He wanted to change the situation. And he responded. And that's, to me, the heart of a person who has the character to be a giver. I have said this in other teachings, that giving is an extreme act of faith. And it's a lot like many other characteristics of a person. You have to develop that gift. It does not necessarily come with every human being. Life circumstances and how we focus and see life and how we learn to love our fellow man are all the parts of the teachings of Jesus Christ. And as a Christian, this would be the things that we would strive to do and to become. A compassionate giver, because this man, he went above and beyond. He got down off his beast of burden. He went down into the ditch. He poured oil and wine into that man's wounds. He gathered him up, put him on his beast of burden, and he took him in to the city, and he rented a room at a local inn. And he stayed up with that man all night long, because the scripture says that he cared for him. And when the morning came, and it was time for this man to go on about his occupation, he said to the innkeeper, he says, I want you to care for this man. I want you to nurse him back to life. And see, at this point, we still don't know anything about that man. We don't know anything about him. And this man didn't know anything about him. All he knew was that he was a human being. And he was showing a heart of compassion. You see, that's the very heart of God. It's what God teaches us to be. And not only did this man say to the innkeeper, I want you to care for him, but if it cost more than what I'm giving you, and he gave him some money, he said, when I return, I will take care of the debt. He indebted himself into this innkeeper on the behalf of a stranger. And that's why I have said this was a compassionate giver. And this is the prototype of what Jesus has taught us as Christian believers, to be people who not only give, but love to give, because we love to minister to God's blessed, those whom He loves. As He loves them, we should love them. This is Pastor Jack King with the gospel on the radio broadcast.